From commanding the music scene to facing the challenges of incarceration, these are the unpredictable turns of Suge Knight behind bars. Picture this. You've just been found guilty of manslaughter, and you're going to jail for over 20 years. How would you feel the first day when you take that long ride in chains from the courthouse to the big house? If your name is Suge Knight, and you are the big dog former of Death Row Records, which launched the careers of such notables as Snoop Dogg, Tupac, and Dr. Dre, you'd think going to Big House is no big deal. You can handle anything, right? After all, Suge Knight is no stranger to correctional facilities. His first stint in the Big House was in 1995, was when he received a 5-year probation for assaulting 2 rappers at a Hollywood recording station in 1992. From there on, he has been in and out of the jail system, dodging bullets both from rival gangbangers and police alike, and becoming a celebrity doing so. In 2018, Knight pleaded no contest to voluntary manslaughter, getting 22 years for a hit-and-run charge, and a little bonus of 6 years more for it being a third strike. He is now serving his prison sentence at R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. He will be eligible for parole in 2034. Should be nothing. A walk in the park. But actually, it isn't. But who did Knight run over voluntarily and why? NBC News reported that in 2015, he ran over businessman Terry Carter with his car. He also crushed the ankles of Cree Sloan, a consultant and former Compton gang member on the biopic Straight Outta Compton. This all happened because Knight felt like his likeness was being used for the movie without his permission. Word on the street is that Knight is terrified. He's probably thinking somebody is going to try to kill him inside prison. Knight won't go out of his cell, and for sure, it has to do with his previous association with the mob Piru Bloods. He hired members from this gang to work for Death Row Records. Knight also hired members of 2 other blood sets, Fruittown Piru and Looters Park Piru. By the early 2000s, there was beef between the mob Piru and the Fruittown Piru, which resulted in the deaths of several people from Knight's inner circle. So now that Knight is behind bars for a long stint, he's afraid of his old friends. Everybody knows snitches get stitches, right? Well, Knight is all too painfully aware of it behind his jail cell. Guess when you were the guy driving the car where Tupac got killed, you might be a little nervous if you have some idea about who might have done it. And speaking of the fateful murder of Tupac, it has also been widely reported that Knight fingered Snoop Dogg's involvement in it. In an interview with Hip Hop DX, he was asked Diddy's alleged involvement in Pac's murder. He said, and I quote, "As far as the Puffy situation, I really gotta have a real conversation with Snoop. I knew that Pac did everything right by him by putting him on All Eyes on Me, speaking about him and being real with him. And if it's true what they say, face to face it's gonna be a lot of explaining to do. Now, I don't know you, but if I was in jail and I had just pointed the finger, first at Dr. Dre, and then even at Snoop Dogg for alleged involvement in a capital crime, I'd probably not be very secure about how long I would get to keep breathing. Either way, it's pretty clear that sending Knight to prison for over 2 decades is pretty much putting him on death row, but without the legal sentence. Another reason is that he's no longer claiming Piru association. Yeah, the big man, once leader of the Bloods, wants nothing to do with his old pals now that he is living with them under the same roof in prison. And you have to wonder why. After all, the Bloods are a big part of the inmate population in Southern California. So who wouldn't want to have a bunch of friends backing you up in a fight? Suge Knight, that's who. In an interview for the channel Rizzle, an anonymous inmate said the following. Talking about Suge like that, I'd like to show you that dudes be on the street, allocating this tough man facade. You really be in the pit with the homies, you know what I'm saying? You gotta really pull a knife out, and you get your name in the game changed. That's what I was speaking to. I was trying to illustrate based on what we talked about me and Suge that, hey man, you can come out. What did our anonymous inmate mean by saying you can come out? It is a known fact that VIPs such as Knight are sequestered outside the general inmate population and put into isolation, usually, for their own safety. It would not be unusual for a high-profile big fish like Knight to have a green light put on his head. After all, it's karma. If you hurt a lot of people on your rise to the top, a lot of people are going to look to get you cut down to size, and if you are in the slammer, that means a shank to the liver or worse. So what happens to Knight's millions now? He's not going shopping for a while. Well, actually, according to him, he's broke. Celebrity Net Worth reported that Suge Knight's net worth has dropped down to $200,000 over the years. A lot of this was due to poor financial management. Knight owed the IRS $6.5 million in taxes. He also owed the wife of a business partner $107 million, which forced him to. Let's put some perspective on all this. At the top of his game, Knight was worth at least $100,000 million, and today he is behind bars and broke. How did it all come to this? Originally, Marion Hugh Knight Jr. was born April 19, 1965 in Compton, California. A cheerful, athletic boy, he got the nickname Sugar Bear because of his good disposition. But that didn't last. By the time he was out of middle school, Sugar Bear had turned into Suge, and he was feared and loathed by many of his previous friends. But his athletic achievements were notable, so he managed to get into college football at UNLV as a defensive end. He would briefly play in the NFL for the Los Angeles Rams as a replacement player during the 1987 NFL players' strike. With this money, he managed to co-create Death Row Records, but he didn't do it being a nice guy. He rose to fame and power through intimidation and some really dark deals. People who worked for him, or just knew him, would be afraid of him. He was a thug, doing thuggish things, a criminal who never got caught, a gangster's gangster. Karma is a bitch. Live by the sword, get a shank in jail. Once you start to unravel the mess that is Suge Knight's life, you begin to understand why he is scared out of his mind of being in a 444 tomb, waiting for the Undertaker, printed with the demonstration version of Fade In. He is surrounded by people who want to kill him, and he probably has several powerful people outside who are still power players in the music world and in the gang world, and they have enough resources to pay off a lifer with nothing to lose to silence once and for all one of the most influential players in the world of rap. Heck, there's probably hundreds of young bloods who would love a chance to make a name for themselves, sinking a shiv that finally ends the life of such a big boss as Suge Knight. And if truth be told, Knight probably knows he deserves whatever he gets. He was no Robin Hood, taking from the rich to give to the poor. He was a guy who wanted power and fame, and was willing to break anybody who stood in his way. As we wrap up this exploration into the twists and turns of Suge Knight's journey behind bars, we're left with lingering questions about what the future holds for this influential figure in the rap world. Now, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on what might happen to Suge Knight behind bars? Drop your insights, predictions, or comments in the section below. Until next time, stay tuned, stay engaged, and let's continue unraveling the mysteries of the rap industry together.